Just as it's effectively edging into a general election campaign, the Conservative Party is now floored by a right-wing think tank, which is called the CDO. It sounds like something that you buy in a garage shop to stick into the tank of your car. It sounds like an oil, CDO, to make things move more comfortably. A sort of lubricant. No, I'm afraid it's going to bring everything grinding to a stop. The CDO, the Conservative Democratic Organisation, is effectively the momentum for the Conservative Party. And when you look at its aims, as stated in the media, are to effectively get Boris back in control, to reintroduce a more vigorous, a more dynamic, a more meaningful Brexit, a Brexit that severs Britain firmly from the continent, a Brexit which presumably puts some sort of barrier in the Channel Tunnel. But when you look at its actual aims, its stated aims are to restore party democracy, to have a directly elected Conservative Party chairman and other Conservative Party officers, actually to make sure that never again will someone like Rishi Sunak be elected by members of Parliament rather than the ordinary membership. As if that ordinary membership vote which took place and elected Liz Truss was actually democratic. Not really. It was a vote by a very small number of people. The only people who were democratically elected to appoint the next Prime Minister are those people sitting in on the green benches in the House of Commons. Then it's supposed to replace the National Convention, a general meeting of the party to replace the National Convention. Great, I have no problem with that. To encourage candidate selection, to reinvigorate the candidate selection process. Constituency associations should have the right to determine who their parliamentary candidate and member of Parliament is, and if necessary, deselect their MP. Well, I thought they already had that responsibility and opportunity, particularly at the moment, where so many MPs are having to go back to their local constituency and beg to be reselected. Power to the members. The party constitution should be capable of being changed at a general meeting of the party by members of the party. Well, that sounds very much like something that could be said by Momentum. Policy input. Oh my goodness, even more like Momentum. A policy conference located in a more affordable location where ministers would listen to members' ideas on policies in their subject area, selected by motions submitted through local associations. It suggests a very healthy local association. In my experience, that doesn't really exist except when you're coming up to an election, and even then, questionable. Choosing a leader, retaining and reinforcing the party membership's democratic right to choose the leader. Well, of course, I question whether that's democratic. Party conference reform. Yes, absolutely necessary. These staged party conferences need to be a thing of the past. Volunteer-led. Well, of course, all of that, for the most part, really, people could get behind that. Does that mask what this Conservative Democratic organisation will actually campaign for? If it will actually campaign for the resurrection of Boris, for the deification of Rees-Mogg, for the perpetuation of Nadine Dorries, for the constant voice of Priti Patel and Suella Braverman, I don't know, but that's really what I suspect it's about. It's about getting these voices shrilly into every possible receptacle. It's about, we could probably have toys that we can press, and out will come Boris's voice. Bah, 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 bah. Quickly followed by Suella Braverman's invasion. That's not my idea of a political party. That's my idea of Disneyland gone wrong. Disneyland gone wrong. Disneyland replaced by slogans. But hey, that's really all Disneyland is. It's a series of slogans, or maybe we call them catchphrases. I would like my politics to be significantly more interactive and significantly more constructive. I think we've got too much destructive, slogan-led politics, and I don't think the CDO is likely to change that, as I don't think, frankly, Momentum did very much good to the Labour Party. As for Keir Starmer and Jeremy Corbyn, again, I think there's a question that needs to be asked, because if you look at what Jeremy Corbyn was thrown out of the Labour Party for, the motion that led him being thrown out of the selection committee or the selection process, it wasn't anything to do with the anti-Semitism issue. It was to do with the loss of the 2019 election. But actually, if you look closely at the numbers, the 2019 election had more votes for Labour than the previous two elections. It was actually quite successful, though it didn't get very many seats. And Jeremy Corbyn technically lost, but that's to do with the first-past-the-post system. And what's more worrying is the way that Keir Starmer defended Jeremy Corbyn in 2020 and has now gone on to defy him, to throw him out of the party effectively and as an effective force. And yet he said, he was my friend. If this is how Sir Keir Starmer treats his friends, how does he treat his enemies? That's very worrying. I worry most of all. I don't worry so much about party political allegiance. I worry about whether people say what they mean what they say. I worry about whether people can change their minds if they hear a better idea. Because in the end, that's what politics is about. Not banging on the table and screaming the same slogan again and again and again. No progress is going to be made there. Except somebody will get very hoarse.